Hello everyone, we just recently finished our latest challenge of trolls and goblins. And let's take a look and review some of the submissions that I received, and they were amazing and fantastic. Here is the actual challenge. If you would like to participate in future challenges, please join in. We don't usually have any limitations. You can use any software, and it's all just about having fun and sharing your art with your fellow artists and getting some feedback if that's something you want. To get the juices going, you can see a few references that were posted for inspiration. All right, so let's jump right into this. I'll just go in order that they were submitted. So the first submission was from Jeff. So here's Jeff's submission. This is his first time creating a character in full pose. And he also did not have a reference for this character, which is completely mind-blowing. This looks exactly like the level of quality of those Infinity Disney characters. Absolutely phenomenal. So Jeff is relatively new to ZBrush, but you can clearly see the foundational skills and knowledge that he has from posing to design, and doing something like this without reference with the full body pose is absolutely incredible. This takes enormous amount of skill, and Jeff actually sent me the character in ZBrush in order for me to use it in one of my other tutorial videos, which was my previous video showing how to take a ZBrush character and bring it into Blender. But because I have this file, let's take a look at this character in ZBrush. All right, so here he is in ZBrush. Let's go ahead and turn off the poly paint. And without the poly paint, you can really see all the details and how everything is working together. It's really a beautifully executed piece, and I don't really have any feedback on this besides the fact that I'm incredibly inspired personally. Let's go ahead and turn on polyframe so you can also see that all the pieces were put together using blocking, and all of the elements were brought in as kind of a low poly base meshes, and then they were subdivided and turned into high-res topology. So the model is about 1.8 million points, which is still relatively low in my opinion. One thing that is super impressive about this piece is how smooth everything is. If you look at the surface of the face, you don't see any lumpy or bumpy noise. Everything is just really smooth and sharp. I also love how Jeff used the combination of round shapes with sharp shapes. So you can see that right here in the folds, you have kind of a nice soft round shapes, including the muscle. And then even in the face, right, you see the cheeks are nice and soft, but then he also included these sharp edges that are very stylized and beautiful. And I think that works really well, personally. It's also interesting to see how he made the ears. Instead of turning this into Dynamesh and merging all the shapes together, for example, in the ear, right, you can see that they are still separate elements, and that is really interesting to see as well. Same for the eyelids, right? The eyelids are actually separate pieces. I can even do Control Shift and click to isolate the eyelids and see how they're looking. So they're not even blended with the skin. Seeing the technical execution for this model is really, really amazing. I love the facial expressions, right? You can see the character broke symmetry, so his entire right side is kind of lifting up, including the brows, the cheek, and the top part of the mouth, which is really, really cool, and definitely gives a lot of attitude and uniqueness to the face of the character. So even though he was sculpted in symmetry, during the posing, it's so important to just take a little time to create something a little more expressive, and that just makes a world of difference. Let's take a look at the actual pose of the character. Look how the character is shifting the weight, right? You can see the center of the character is right here, but you can see how the hips were shifted and turned, right? So it looks like, it feels like all of the weight that the character's, he's stepping forward and he's putting all the weight on this foot right here. If you take a closer look, it feels like this foot is holding all of the weight of the character, and the form and the shape and the pose is definitely beautifully translating that, which is really, really cool. And then this leg is kind of in motion, right? It's about to be lifted, and that's why it's bent. Absolutely incredible. It's so subtle, but physically it just reads so well. And I think for someone to actually get to this level of intricacy, it's going to require incredible knowledge, foundational knowledge of anatomy, animation, posing. It's clearly done by someone who's been in the character space for a long time, even though Jeff just recently started using ZBrush to sculpt his characters. If we go in the back of the character and you just even look at something as simple as the wraps, right? You can see the choice of how they're overlapping. Each one is overlapping over the other. This one is even running across his heel. The heels are nice and sharp. All of that little detail is just so important, and it reads so well together. Because he's leaning to the left, you can see this little fat blob is kind of going over the belt. His skin is bunching up a little bit, and I think that's awesome. I could see the back line pressed in. So those little details are so important, and they take time, right? This is not something you can rush through. You really have to move into the piece and feel the motion of the character. So if you want to engage with artists like Jeff, please join our Discord, and then you can ask questions and learn from other artists as well. If you would like to level up your art and take it to this next level. Now, I did take this piece and I brought it into Blender once again as a tutorial. So let me show you the final render in Blender, and you can watch that video as well. Also not as part of this challenge specifically, because this is Trolls and Goblins, Jeff also created this really cool looking orc, and I'm just gonna throw it in here just because it's so magnificent and I love everything about it. Once again, it has those round shapes mixed with sharp edges, and it just stylistically looks so delicious in my opinion. Fantastic, let's go ahead and move on to the next character. Moving down, our next submission was from Pooky, and he made something really awesome. This is a troll. All right, so this is another piece that was executed absolutely beautifully. You can see the huge hands with the smaller head, and that gives this character a super stylized, awesome feel. This was also rigged and animated, which is super impressive. And I love the addition of little hairs, right? That's so cool. I can even see little hairs on his toes, which is hilarious. Very nicely sculpted. It was also very nice of this guy to put on his underwear to present himself properly. You gotta love the back hair detail. Just like with Jeff's character, we could see him in motion, right? He's stepping in. And just like with the previous character, you can see that he is shifting his weight on this foot, on his right foot. So the head is a little bit tilted, and he's kind of shifting over to this side. This arm is lifted as well. So this is reading really, really nicely. Super impressive. Let's go ahead and take a look at the second video. This made me laugh. It's so funny that he clearly showered, got dressed, and now he is presenting us with flowers. I love the pose. I mean, how cute is that his arm is behind his back, and it kind of gives that energy of I come in peace, I'm kind, I'm gentle, here are the flowers. It's amazing how you can take a strong, huge character, and by just posing him or even clothing him in different ways, you can create a completely different emotion or a message, right? So in this case, he is kind, even though he could easily dress up for a battle, grab an axe and a sword. Instead, he's presenting us with flowers. So absolutely awesome. And you gotta love his polo shirt. Thank you for this submission, absolutely love it. Our next submission is from Corbin. Corbin created this goblin right here. You can see this was created in ZBrush on the iPad, which is absolutely fascinating. This guy is hilarious. To me, he almost looks like a scarecrow, right? It's somebody you put in the middle of the field to just scare everybody away. I love his funny expression. I think he's trying to smile, but it almost feels like he is forcing the smile, right? He is here to harm you, but at the same time, he wants to present himself as somebody kind. So that's what this looks like. I definitely wouldn't trust this guy. I love the little details on the veins. You can see really nice shading. It's nice to see the clothing that was probably extracted from, this looks like a high-res model. Here we have another angle of the character, and you can really see his crazy expression. So this is super awesome and creepy at the same time, which totally works. I love his stylish jacket. I think that's really cool. Not sure where he got it. Maybe it's some kind of a goblin fashion store. I'm looking at his toes, and I'm not really sure if this looks like goblin toes. This almost looks like kind of a gorilla foot or of some sort, which is a funny take on a goblin. And we also have a nice turntable for this character. And once again, this character is also in motion and stepping forward. I think all three of these guys are going to the same event. Thank you, Corbin. This is beautiful. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Our next submission is from Sagiru, and this is really cool because this was all done in Blender. Here we can also see that the goblin was rigged. All right, here's another shot that we can see in Blender. He is in T-pose, he's ready to be animated. My suggestion for this piece is maybe just to clean this up a little more. These lines right here, or the painting, looks a little messy. And you can see this is not a texture, this is just straight up painting in Blender, which could totally work, but maybe just have the mesh to be a little more clean, and just maybe add just a little more details as well. We have another image where this time he's holding a low poly sword. Any feedback that I just gave him about his paint is probably not a good idea, because he might actually hurt me. So I actually changed my mind. I think he's perfect and he's as good as he can be. The final submission came from Andy, and unfortunately I can't show it to you because it does not qualify as a goblin or a troll. So we're not going to talk about this or look at it. Sorry, Andy. And by the way, this is pretty awesome. It reminded me of like a really expensive designer toy that you see at like a museum that was sold for millions of dollars and you can't figure out why. And it's also interesting to see that this character right here is coming from Blender as well. I did not personally participate in this challenge, but I did create a few trolls and goblins in the past, and here they are. Thank you so much for watching this. Once again, if you enjoy cartoon characters and you just want to be a part of a fun, casual community, join our Discord, participate in our challenges, and I will see you in our next video.